When I was in prison, most of the men that I would sit there and mentor inside prison were just like me. They didn't have good male father role models. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and so for the success story to happen, it's for people like us. We have to teach them, and one or two out of 100 may get it, and hopefully those one or two that we teach that get it move on to teach another 10 or 4 or 100, whatever it is, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. So that's how our communities change. When we help
Hmm.
other people change their values.
What's up, everybody? This is Timothy Rhyme. Welcome back to Grown Man Sessions, where we aim to empower and inspire one story at a time. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this interview, and I really hope you like it. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you very much. If you can, please hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you're notified when we release new interviews. On this episode, I'll be talking with a gentleman by the name of Michael Blueyez. Michael began his life on the wrong path, which ended up leading him to prison for 20 years. It took time for him to turn his life around, but while in prison, Michael earned his GED, an associate's degree in business management. He started writing rhymes and became certified in audio engineering. Also, while in prison, Michael was able to build a relationship with Sacramento-based rapper X-Rated, who ended up taking Michael under his wing and mentoring him and helping him build his own independent music label called Relentless Visions Entertainment. Through his journey, he has been able to become a stronger, more whole man for his son and his wife, along with his community and those he mentors through Prisons of Peace as a conflict resolution mediator. This is a really cool interview, so without further ado, let's get this thing going. To be honest, we've all made mistakes, whether they're big, whether they're small. But I think the thing that defines a man is how they make amends for their mistakes and how they try to correct them, acknowledge them, be accountable for them, and be responsible for them. And today, my guest today, Michael Blueyez, has one heck of a story about how he was able to transform and how he was able to, change his whole path and his whole trajectory. And I can't wait to get into the details, man. What's up, Michael? How you doing, bro?
Oh man, I'm blessed, brother. I'm blessed. Thank you, Timothy, for having me on your show, man. This is dope.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to actually come and join me on this platform. Because, like I told you before we started, I feel like after reading your bio, man, I feel like we have a very similar mission in life now. I've made mistakes along the way. I've never, gone through certain things that you've gone through, but I've made my share of mistakes. But I'm at the point in my life now where I just want to help the next generation. I want to help guide these young men, these young women, whoever, and just set a better example, man. So I salute you in your journey and your mission as well.
I appreciate that, man, and absolutely, and it's a team effort, it's a movement, and in order for change to actually happen, like I learned a long time ago, the only way I'm gonna be able to change the world is if I change myself first, and so, that's some of one of the hardest things that we work on is that very beginning process because. Trying to change yourself, and nobody wants to change the defects that are in them that got us in those mistakes in the first place. That's the hard part.
It's crazy you said that, man, because I always end the show by saying something that it hits on that subject, man. But we'll get to it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But let's start from the beginning, man. So you grew up in Fresno, California, huh?
Yeah, I'm from Fresno, California, born and raised, and yeah, it's a slummy city, but I love it. It's diverse, and that's why I really love it. There's a lot of diversity here, so it makes for the music scene to be really hot. But it also means the streets are real tough, and they'll eat you up real fast.
Yeah, man, let's talk about that. So, based on what I've read about you, it seems like you kind of got caught up in the street life at a young age, man. How did that happen, man? How did you get involved in getting involved in the streets?
So like my parents, they were both, drug addicts and alcoholics, and I got a better relationship, with my father today. I still haven't talked to my mom, don't know where she's at, but I grew up in foster homes. My father was in the pen my whole life, so that was a reflection, wondering where he was. We always had that, I always had that thought. So I would always tell myself, man, I ain't never going to be like that when I grow up, and then it's just funny how little bad choices lead to bigger bad choices, So growing up in Fresno, I started slanging joints in junior high for $2, you know what I mean? Thinking there's nothing wrong with that, trying to get easy money. Because I didn't have no role models that taught me how to have a good work ethic. I mean, my grandfather taught me how to have a really solid work ethic, but nobody taught me how to get a job. You know what I mean? Like at a young age, nobody taught me how to fill out applications. Nobody taught me how to that you needed money, steady money coming in like that. So it was, for me, my role models always tried to get that fast buck. They try to get that quick hustle. And so, at a young age, you want to be that. You see the big homie that's got the dope ride in the neighborhood, and he's got everybody that's, jocking him, and he's got all the girls, you know what I'm saying? And he looks super fly, and you want to embody that. You idolize it, and then, and another thing too, man, like hip hop. It's funny that that I'm in hip hop now, but being in hip hop growing up, all the rappers is always talking about how they murked everybody and did this or that. And when I got to the pen, ain't nobody was there, right? And that's when I felt duped. Like I remember I was like 18 or 19, and I was like, wait, hold up a minute. It just dawned on me. I'm still doing cyphers, but ain't no, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't real, So learning at a young age, and I think that's important that we teach youth how to separate entertainment too. Because people take that, especially the streets, and they get into entertainment, and they still are that, and so they push that music, and that just does that stuff for the next youngster to get involved in that, who don't even need to be there to begin with, So I'm pushing a different message. I'm talking about my life in my rhymes. Sometimes people don't agree with how I do it because I'm still pushing a commercial line a little bit, but I tell people all the time, man, how I live my life is the reflection of how I'm teaching the youth.
Right.
Right. It's I'm teaching the youth to collect a paycheck every 2 weeks because I still have a 9 to 5, and I talk about that. I work for a nonprofit organization, I remember my first year home, 12 months home, had my first solid year home. I was working 2 full-time jobs. I just got off parole 2 weeks ago, but I was working 2 full-time jobs.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother. And when I did my taxes, I owed IRS $6,000, right? And I was like, wait, hold up a minute. How do I owe the IRS money? It's my first year home, and I've been working hella hard, you know what I mean? But it's the way it works. When you really work hard, all these other things come into play, real grown folk stuff. This is grown-up business we talking about. And that's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't know that at that age, you know what I mean? And especially being in the pen for 20 years too, you can't even prepare for that type of stuff after you get out. I knew I needed a job. I got my college degree before I came home. As soon as I came home, I went to Fresno City and got certified as an audio engineer. It took me 10 months going to class 3-4 times a week, and trying to get myself in the hip hop game. And I'd already had the business degree because I knew I wanted the label, but I didn't know how to use it yet. I didn't know what it meant. So the last 2 years has been learning my own music and my own craft, but also studying that business environment so we can launch what we're doing today,
I think most people don't really, including myself, know all the details or what it's truly like to be locked up to be in prison. I think a lot of us have kind of our own little idea, from maybe stories we've heard from other people. But how were you able to change your course, man? I mean, there are people that are on the streets that aren't able to get their act together, and they're in cozy and safe and fun environments. I mean, how did you change the way that you're seeing your life and how you were processing things to the point where, regardless of where you were like, nah, I gotta make a change?
You know what it was is it was just an accumulation. I've always been a deep thinker, and I got to a certain age where I realized that thoughts turn into reality if you work hard enough for them, and it just literally meant the discipline to do it. And so when I was in the pen, one of my mentors, X-Rated, he helped me get sober, and he was literally on my bumper about getting off of drugs and stopping drinking. and learn. He told me, man, get your business right. You know what I mean? And get your game tight, you know? And I never forgot that little bit of time we spent with him. I spent with him, you know, and that's what kept me sober all these years when I got there, you know, and then getting home and being able to transition out here without being overwhelmed and letting life take over with the same stuff again, you know. What it was is, I remember when I was in prison, and I was sitting in prison, and I was doing my college degree, and having to overcome little obstacles inside there is what helps me stay focused out here, right? And one of the obstacles was like, I had to pass an algebra class in order to get my associate's degree, right? And I never took algebra. I got my GED when I was 27, and I barely passed the algebra section, you know? So when I went to the math class, I talked to the teacher, because it was like a night class in prison, and it was like full blown algebra, you know. And he's like, do you have the prerequisite? And I was like, nah, but I promise you, if you let me in your class, I'm gonna pass this class, you know. And literally all the other guys in that class had already taken the pre-algebra class to prepare for it. And I literally took it back and then went and studied with dudes at the table algebra for like 3 weeks and taught myself, and went in there. And before I left, I got an A in that algebra class. And then I went and took statistics the next semester and got 97%, right? So I started learning that hard work in these classes, like if you do the hard work, the results come back, right? And so the results for me, so I applied that to life. I started applying that thinking to life, and knowing that, like, just like a math problem, you can't budge from the problem and the equation. It has to be done a certain way. And that's exactly how life is. If you really want to accomplish your tasks and get to your goals, and not allow the illusions of the entertainment industry to cloud your judgment, or your role models to cloud your judgment, you pick the proper role models. If you stay focused, you'll get there, you know. And it's I don't know. I know it's people can't understand it, because not everybody goes to prison and becomes the success story, you know. And that's why we have a 70-something% recidivism rate, you know, because
right.
People don't understand that, you know. They think that, you know, people go to prison for you know, whatever, robbing, killing, selling drugs, doing whatever they're doing that goes against social values and social norms, right? But then there's the flip side, the hard workers who bust their ass every day and can't get out of that really low paying 9 to 5, and they're just working paycheck to paycheck. But you know, some people may be content with that, but a lot of people aren't. But some guys don't even know how to get jobs, you know. Like I would go, when I was in prison, most of the men that I would sit there and mentor inside prison were just like me. They didn't have good male father role models, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you know, and so for the success story to happen, you know, it's for people like us. We have to teach them, and you know, 1 or 2 out of 100 may get it, and hopefully those 1 or 2 that we teach that get it move on to teach another 10 or 4 or 100, whatever it is. And it's a gift that keeps on giving, so that that's how our communities change, you know, when we help other people change their values, you know.
Like I think one of the key, like, common themes that I hear from people of all walks of life, man, like whether they've been in trouble, whether they just kept going to school, whether they've been successful, whether they're trying to be successful, one of the things that I hear over and over again is what you just said, is like choosing the right people to be around, you know. Like, what would you tell to like a youngster that is you know, coming from a rough environment? Like, what would you tell them as far as, like, you know, maybe the people that they're hanging around aren't necessarily going to be most beneficial for them?
You know, I would like for them to understand that I know that they find comfort being around those other kids because they're just like them, and so we find comfort in people that are like us, and so we want to stay around people that we find comfort with. You know, it's how you find a little piece of home on the block, is when you're around somebody that you can relate to. You know, but those people are going to take you straight to jail. You know, that eventually it's either that or get killed. You know, and those are the 2 results on the street. You know, jail or death, and there ain't no escaping that. You know, there ain't no changing that. name one successful drug dealer. You can't, because there's not. You know what I mean? Like name, all the entrepreneurs are actual successful legalized businessmen who've, whatever, took their hardships and turned it into real material things. Not crimes. Crimes they're never going to get us anywhere. So what I would say to them is, find a role model that's somebody that you want to be like them in life. Say you want to work like them. You want their job. That's the career you want. Find a role model that can help you find a career. That's what I feel like people should do. Because if you have a role model that is a reflection of what you have a passion for, that's going to help you find the right footing to get there, and it's going to help you get away from those people that are going to suck you into the gutter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I completely agree, man. I think I wish I would have done that when I was younger. You get older and you start thinking like, man, like if I would have done this or that, you know what I mean? Like things would have been different. But yeah, I like that. And just as a side note, man, like I'm from South Sac. So I grew up like, 10, 15 minutes away from the Garden Block. So I'm very familiar with X-Rated and all the other Sacktown rappers, man. Like, I support dude's movement ever since he got home. And I really like, how, artists like yourself, man, are kind of, doing the same thing, man, where you're using your experience, you're using your platform now to like, to do some good, you know what I mean? And I think that's commendable, man. And I think, the universe is going to reward you heavily and greatly.
I hope so, because we're really working hard to try to give back in the times, man. It's overwhelming because, it's working late nights and getting up early the next day, and it don't stop, and but that's where the hard work, man. You got to dig deep for that hard work. I'm really excited because September 3rd, 4th, and 5th, my team, we're all going out to Vegas and we're shooting a music video at X-Rated. So really excited about that. It's gonna be super. I feel like that's gonna be the pinnacle of Relentless Vision and trying to get the platform going. It's using the big homie and knowing that he sent me on these footsteps, and knowing that we got the support coming back. And we got the support of my town, my city right here. Out here in California. And we're just really trying to make these big moves and trying to make the right moves and the positive moves,
Yeah, man. Good luck with that, man. I'm gonna definitely stay tuned for that, man. I support all that stuff, man. That's a pretty cool project that you're working on. Yeah. So looking back, man, what do you think is like to this point? Like, what do you think is one of the most important lessons that you've learned, man? Like, at this point in your life.
Pay attention to your choices, because choices are really important. You can make one wrong choice that can affect hundreds of people in your community, and sometimes we think that a simple choice isn't gonna affect anybody, but even if we hurt one person, it's something wrong with it. So I try to pay attention to my choices as much as possible now, because I realize the consequences from them when I didn't think about that before. When I was younger, and they have science and stuff behind it now, but when you're younger, your brain hasn't formed enough to think about the consequences of how much your choices will affect your own future and those around you, and it's based on impulse, and if we can teach impulse at a young age and choices at a young age, then I think we'll have a better head start.
Oh, for sure, bro. Yeah, I remember being in my teens, man, and just like not caring about anything, bro. Like I remember just being numb to the world, but it was because I was hurt on the inside, man, and I was just like, I said F it, and I was out there just acting like like my choices didn't have an impact on me, on anybody else. I was really blind to it. I wonder how we could get a younger person like that might be listening to understand, man, that like, your choices, that they are your choices. You know what I mean? Like that you're not a victim to any of these things. That, I mean, you could be a victim to your circumstances, but I mean, to turn yourself into the victim and say like, well, I don't have a choice in the matter, like this is just what I was dealt with and I just have to do it. Like, I don't necessarily agree with that.
I definitely don't agree with it because, like, I had a choice. I had a choice every time I made a mistake. I had a choice when I was living rock bottom and I was existing there. I had a choice to stay there. I chose not to get out of that. I chose not to get out of that environment. That was a choice. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then I chose to make further mistakes. And then I chose to exist in the gang lifestyle, even in prison for almost 15 years before I finally figured it out. So it's about each one of us, nobody could take our choices away from us, and we can't tell anybody else that someone else is responsible for them either too when it comes down to it. I mean, to some certain extent, for the most part, we're responsible for
Right.
our own decisions, and
Yeah.
That's another thing. If we could just teach people that, even though you feel like, I remember being at that point where I was like, F it, I don't care, like, oh, you think I'm a bad person? Well, let me show you how bad I could be then. That was my attitude, like let me hulk up then, and
Right.
and that's, that was a choice, and I, even then when I chose to react aggressively, nobody took that power away from me, so it's, if we could teach people that they have the choice, and the choice is always to make the best, most healthy decision, and teach people how to do that, teach people good resolution skills, good ways to resolve conflict within themselves and with other people, better communications. Most problems happen because of just simple miscommunications, so
Oh yeah.
if we just teach just simple communication skills, it's, all these things play a big part in how we should be mentoring our youth and our community.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. You touched on a few things right there, man, that I think are really important. So when you're talking about like the choices that you made along the way, that you made bad choices, can you talk about how you felt when you started making the right choices? Because I think sometimes people miss the fact that, like, when you're making the bad choices, it's kind of easier, you know what I mean? And so when you change the way that you're thinking about things and you're trying to make the good choices, it can feel like it's hard, man. It can feel uncomfortable.
Oh, it's 100% uncomfortable because, anytime you're trying to retrain your brain, or even like, it's the same thing when you're trying to grow your muscles, your biceps, you lifting weights, and that stuff hurts. It be burning, right? And you be like, you be sweating, right? So, it's a struggle. So it's the same thing that we go through with that, so it's I remember for me, when I was trying to, when I was learning how to live sober and understand what that meant, and starting to really learn the recovery process, and the 12-step process, and what that means to start understanding yourself and learning you got a problem, and then writing out your inventory and sharing that stuff, like all these different things that plays into that. But for me, when I lead up to say that when I was going through that, it was like a whole year, and I was questioning myself, like, man, am I on the right path? What am I doing? Because I kind of want to go back over here and hang out with the folks again, and it's easy to slip back into that lifestyle, right? But then I remember I was in group one day, and one of my boys who knew me back when I was still partying all the time, and I was like, I didn't care. I was just wilding out all the time in prison, being a knucklehead, right? And he stood up. I remember he stood up and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, man, I'm proud of you, because everything you've been doing the past year, man, you really changed, And when he told me that was that positive reinforcement for myself, and I knew at that moment, like, I must be really doing the right thing, because that feels good. That part felt good, when all the messing up that I was doing in the past. Anytime I would make a mistake, people would tell me, oh man, I'm disappointed in you, or oh man, you're gonna be a screw up your whole life, or all these, and so it was good to not hear that part no more, So I say that to say to people that are questioning that, just stay focused, because the the blessings do come when you really stick with it, you know. And
Sure.
there's a saying that goes that the way we get to it is by learning the path from those who have trudged the path before us, right? And I remember when I went and looked at the word trudge, it meant to like fight for every square inch, like you're on your hands and knees, like pulling your body and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And so that made me realize that. So when someone else is doing that, they're going down their path doing that trudging, and I'm watching them and I'm learning. And now I'm going up my path and I'm trudging, I'm pulling myself up, trying to get to, you know, a recovered state. And then we got to teach other people how to do that. It's not easy, you know. And so there's times, man, when you're fighting through that, and you're like, man, I want to quit. This sucks, you know. But you got to stay focused.
It's a blessing, man, that you know, there's some youngsters out there that are gonna have somebody as like you as a resource, you know. So I mean, you know, it's a very good possibility that you're gonna influence somebody in a positive way for doing all that trudging, man. But you also talked about communication because that's a huge thing, man. Like in any aspect of whatever you're gonna do in life, whatever it is, man, like communication is key. Is there anything like any kind of like tips or maybe like you know little things that you could like give us as far as like how to, you know, be better at maybe communicating about certain things?
My whole career is about communication. So like we run whole workshops on it, you know. So you know, we literally go back into facilities, and my job I got, because I got certified when I was still locked up at a facility, you know. And it's the program's called Prison of Peace, and it teaches conflict resolution, and it's based on court mediation, right, and the whole process, you know. And so and the mediation process, you know, there's a part of it that if you go into it, it's like peacemaker type skills, right? And so that's what we teach. You know, we teach the physical body language, and, you know, the verbal cues that help people feel like they're being listened to, you know. And we teach people not to interrupt, let people talk, not to interrupt them when they're talking, let them finish, you know. And then when they're finished, just kind of repeat back a small, just a core message of what they just said. And maybe even you can even say something emotional, like label one of their emotions with it at the same time. And when I learned how to do that, that helped me realize that helps the other person feel heard in a conversation, right? And if somebody feels heard in a conversation, they're gonna listen, they're gonna communicate better, and they're gonna feel more calmer, and it's gonna resolve. Sometimes people are in conflict, and, you know, in a conversation, and you don't want to listen. Like for me, I used to be somebody would be telling me something, and then I would forget when they're like halfway through what they're saying, I'm already thinking about my response, and then I didn't even hear half the facts that they just told me, you know. And that's not listening, you know, and that's not communication, you know.
That's a gem just in general, man. Because I mean, I'm married, and my wife and I, like, we actually practice this in our relationship. And it's something that I've learned to translate over into, like, you know, my business relationships, my relationships with friends. And I mean, that right there, man, is just such a game changer. I don't think people really understand.
Nah, they don't. Maybe they will one day, but they don't yet, but they will.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think that's wow. I mean, the fact that you're teaching that to prisoners, man, it makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Because if these techniques can diffuse a situation between people that, you know, have it out for each other, man, I feel like, you know, it'd be good for any and everybody to understand.
Any and everybody. My both of my bosses, they're both professors in conflict resolution, so they actually still teach. Where I remember when I first paroled, one of them was like, "Hey, I need you to pull up. I'm teaching a class over here to this business." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And when I pulled up, he was teaching the same skills to all these employees that were in conflict at like this huge company. And it was the same exact thing as when we were inside the prisons teaching them to inmates, right? And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need you to stand up here and go ahead and explain what we do as well, right?" And then all of a sudden, I'm having the same workshop, but now I'm doing it with all these all these employees that are for a company. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing, man. These skills go everywhere. They can be used in anything with everyone. You know, so it's great, and they're good to teach.
Oh man, and the fact that you're a MC, man, like that just kind of like is another layer that's gonna help you with another part of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all communication skills. You know, whether I'm
For
in front of the
sure.
mic or I'm in front of one person trying to communicate whatever we're doing. You know.
Or if you're just on like a grown man sessions podcast, you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right on, man. I think this has been a really awesome conversation, man. And I'm like, you got my brain spinning, and I feel like I can go on for a long time, but I really like to get the main gems out of it. And I just want to ask you if there was like one, person, out there listening right now that says, man, like I'm listening to Tim and I'm listening to Michael Blueyez, and I just feel like jacked up. I feel like I'm in a bad spot. Like, what kind of advice could you give them, man? Like to like to make them feel like they're not not to do something stupid.
Go talk to somebody, get it out, because I know that if I have somebody to talk to and to express what I'm going through with somebody, it helps me release that energy a little bit, and don't talk to anybody just because you don't need advice. It's just so that you can get these things off your chest, and sometimes when we're able to explain our thoughts to somebody, it helps us understand ourselves better, calm down a little bit, and defuse, and maybe even go to sleep. You wake up, the day's fresh, and it's all good, But my advice is don't exist in your own thoughts, because my own thoughts have always gotten me in trouble, So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm struggling with something, I try to go talk to somebody about that as much as possible.
Man, that's awesome advice, man. You're a very wise individual, bro, and I appreciate you sharing like these life lessons with myself, and then with whoever's listening as well. Um, Thank you for your time. I do want to talk to you a little bit about your music, because I feel like that's a
Mm-hmm.
big part of like what you are putting your efforts into to try to like make your changes, man. So please, can you give us a little bit of information about your music record label and all like the things that you're working on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So my record label is Relentless Vision Entertainment. I got I got an in-house producer, 88 drums. He's also an engineer, and then I got also a certified engineer. His name is AO Pat. Where you at? He's a really solid engineer. He's got a bachelor's degree in Avid, so super certified with Pro Tools like me. My videographer is TME Visions. He's one of the hottest in Fresno, and he travels too. So he's going to LA this weekend. So if you guys need a music video down there, tap in with us. But for me personally, I dropped Long Road Home in October of last year, right before COVID hit, and then I couldn't really put it out and push it too much,
Right.
because all that stuff happened. But it's a solid album. You guys can go get that. My next album is called The Ascension, and that's going to be that one's Michael Blueyez and 88 drums, because he produced the whole album. So we're going to push it like a Macklemore Ryan Lewis album, because I feel like producers deserve credit too. And so we're going to push it with both of us on the cover of it. And I got some big features in there. We got Fashawn in there from the city. I got X-Rated on a verse. Yeah, man. So it's gonna be really solid. And that one's called The Ascension, and that one's gonna drop, I believe, in July.
Hey, I tell you no lies, man. Fashawn is probably one of my favorite MCs.
Oh yeah, he's I've been listening to him. I remember when I was in the pen, I got Boy Meets World. I was sitting on my prison bunk, right? And I was slapping it, and I was like, ooh, he's from Fresno, right? And I went and checked out and started doing all the research on where what his distribution deal was. And then when he got signed with Nas, so when I came home, he's on my first album too. And then when I came home, he just showed up. He came to my studio right when we first opened, man. We did a commercial together, and then while he was there, we knocked out a song together. So I mean, he's a real humble dude, man, and he's got bars for days,
For days. Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, dude. Thank you so much, man, for your time. I really did enjoy this conversation. I think, some of the main takeaways for me is obviously the communication. Surrounding yourself by people that are, gonna help you and not hurt you. That's the thing that I'm gonna take away from this. Is there any way that people can contact you if they want to reach out to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can find me on IG, Michael.Blueyez, and Blueyez is Blueyez. And then also we got Relentless Vision 559. That's also IG page. You can hit me on Facebook, on YouTube, Michael Blueyez. I got a channel. I got some really super dope music videos on there, specifically one Diseducated, X-rated Block Star. They took it and helped me promote it, and we hit 10K on that one, which is kind of big in my city for some views, So, and we did it with Google Ads just out of this market. So it was really good to really push that, in the California area. And yeah, man, just so you guys can catch me there. I interact, so hit me up, and I'm always posting stuff. You can follow me there. We got a lot of positive stuff happening over the next couple months.
And I'll add his links in the description too, so you guys don't have to go far to search. Just check the description below, and you'll be able to link directly. So thank you, man. Like I alluded to earlier in the interview, man, like when you said that you got to look inward, the thing that I always in the interviews with is, one person can change the world, but it's one person at a time, but that one person is you. So if you got anything out of this interview today with Michael Blueyez, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and drop us a comment and let us know how we're doing. Give us some support, some feedback, because it goes a long way. And just stay tuned for the next Grown Man Sessions. So thank you for your time, and peace out, everybody.